Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. Today, we're going to be talking about a gap in automotive retail sales process that no one else has filled until Steve Apicella, who is the CEO and founder of Strategix DX, stepped up to the plate, and I believe this is a home run for dealers. Steve, welcome to the show.
Brian, I tell you what, I love this stuff. Thanks for having me.
So, Steve, let's set the stage. Before we talk about your specific solution, I always like to put context on how long you've been working in automotive. Now, we're going to talk about what you do, but at a high level, how did you get started in automotive, and how long have you been serving dealers in this role as CEO of Strategix DX for digital transformation?
Yeah, in this role for 8 years now, but serving the automotive retail industry since 1991. So it's been a long journey. And I think for a lot of people, my story is not uncommon, which is the path to where I'm at today wasn't a straight line. It was a squiggly line where I just happened to be blessed enough to see certain crossroads along the way that have propelled me to where we're at today. And certainly there was a lot of risk taking along the way. There was a lot of learning along the way. There were failures along the way, individual, not company failures, but individual things that we tried along the way that help us create something really profoundly powerful today.
And to the degree that you say it's profound and powerful, I agree. In fact, I've invited you to come and speak at the Automotive CXO Summit before the Modern Retailing Conference. And of course, you'll be at the Modern Retailing Conference. So let's set the stage with a personal story. A little over 3 years ago, and I know it was just over 3 years ago because my 3-year financing loan just got paid off on my Honda Pilot. And at that time, the local Honda dealer here in Florida sold me a top of the line protection package, and I think it was from JM&A, very well known F&I product solutions company. And I purchased that because I knew that I was going to keep the car. I wasn't going to lease it. I'd let this thing run out. And after 3 years, the car only has 25,000 miles. So you can understand that I'm not on the road a lot. I'm more in the air. Yet today, if I had any major problems with my car, I would really don't know where I would go to see what was covered or wasn't covered, how long that package was in place. And when you and I first started talking, you made a comment that hit me. It's like, Brian, everyone's talking about digital retailing, modern retailing. Everyone's so focused on the F&I piece and how much profit that brings to the transaction. But my story says, how do I, the next time I swing at the bat and buy a new car, how am I going to feel better about the insurance products I purchase if I'm left kind of out in the air hanging? And number two, what if I didn't purchase those protection packages? Once the dealer completes a transaction, it seems that F&I and that hunger for that profit goes away. And in these two areas of selling more F&I and servicing F&I customers, you came up with a solution. How did you see this hole that dealers were missing revenue opportunities, retention opportunities, and lifetime value opportunities that, well, matter of fact, no one else has filled the gap in?
Three things. One is, as a consumer, just like you and everybody else listening to this, it's the post-sales experience is not great with F&I products, and with the distance between sales and service. Let me explain this real quick. Is our industry throws the kitchen sink at customer acquisition. And part of our problem with our industry, which I think is a great industry, by the way, Brian, I tell people often in the beginning, so they know where I'm coming from. I don't think everything's broken. I think there are gaps in what our great industry is doing where it's missing a tremendous amount of opportunity. And part of that's just because of the architecture of how dealers work. Every dealer treats sales and service like two separate companies under one roof, and many times don't even like one another. And the problem is when the sales department is done with their job to the consumer on their ownership journey, many times it feels like the transaction and therefore the relationship is over. And that's substantiated by processes like digital retailing. I'm an advocate for digital retailing. We don't do it in the conventional sense, but I'm an advocate for it. I think it just casts a wider net. It's smart for dealers to adopt digital retailing. The problem is the digital experience associated to digital retailing abruptly ends right at the point of sale, further telling the customer that's it. That was the end of the transaction, and for many, therefore, the end of the relationship. Where as a consumer, as a contributor to the industry, and then also as an investor into the industry, where I took one summer where I spent 7 weeks in 7 different dealer groups, 7 parts of the country to observe. An investment into my company, an investment into my industry to figure out how can I best contribute as a vendor, as a dealer partner in the industry. And what I saw and learned was illuminating. First of all, F&I is a critical financial cornerstone to every dealer. Tell me I'm wrong. But F&I is left to the following sequence. We keep F&I products the world's greatest secret until the customer enters whatever the F&I environment is. We expect customers to digest 4, 5, 6, 7 products or a menu, good, better, best, and make a decision right there or never thereafter. They're not available after the point of sale. Because the process that exists is the way you sell F&I products is on the F&I menu in that micro moment.
Yeah, and Steve, what was interesting about your approach was that no one challenged in our industry, no one really challenged this idea that once someone turned down an F&I product in the F&I office, or even today now with maybe one person selling, that first, second, or third service could be an opportunity to add F&I products that were once declined, meaning if the customer's coming in and their service experience is awesome, and maybe their first 5,000 or 10,000 mile service happens very quickly, and they're like, hey, you must be putting a lot of miles on this car. It's like, yeah, I got a new job, I'm traveling. It's like, hey, this may be a great time to add this product to your portfolio. Steve, when we talk about what Strategix DX is doing, is it fair to say you've created a platform that gives the consumers the confidence and convenience of knowing what they purchased and facilitating claims, and you've created the same platform to allow dealers to add F&I products post-sale, continuing that journey for higher profitability?
It's really well said, Brian. So both of those things in one unified dealer-branded app, iOS, Android, and web, connected to the industry's premier third-party administrators. So we're not asking dealerships to abandon their third-party administrators. We're not asking them certainly to abandon the menu process in that micro moment of selling the car. We're just simply saying, should all this value reside there alone? And should a customer in 2022 have intuitive access on their smartphone to all the products they purchased? And also a good point here, Brian, is that, earlier in your story, you said, hey, I don't really know what I have. Here's the problem. Neither does the dealer. So when you come in organically back to the dealer and you like, I bought my car here and, I think I have protection. When you roll into the service drive unannounced and a service advisor with best practices greets you right at your car and says, hi, how can I help you? And you say, hey, I bought my car here. I bought some protection products and need service support. Today, our best service advisors are ill-equipped to handle this, which should be a golden retention moment, which is they have to ask you what products did you buy from us? They don't have access to that.
Yeah. And
that's a mistake. It's a mistake for our industry.
I know. And it's so important. When you showed me how the app works, it's not only convenient for, as you mentioned, the consumer and the service advisor and the dealer, and we'll talk about claims acceleration and cutting down on manpower at the administrator level. But here's my thought process is that if I'm aware or vaguely aware of what I purchased, and I come to the dealership and they know exactly what I'm talking about, it reinforces that these products are real, that they're just not a bunch of, puff and powder that doesn't have any real teeth. And it makes me feel, wow, yeah, I did spend an extra $2,400 for a 6-year, X mileage plan, but I'm seeing the value of it right now, and the dealer is my partner in saving money. I will tell you, I've never, ever had a dealer, when I come into service drive, ever say, hey, I looked up your protection plan and these things aren't covered. Or these things are covered.
Yeah, and what we do is make it simple for the service advisor is scan the VIN barcode on the car and away we go. And we reach out to all the administrators via an API call to say, okay, does this customer exist? If they do, what do they have? What's their coverage? And give the service advisor a digital pathway to service, not the archaic 1-800 number, different for every administrator, have a seat and a coffee and a donut while we figure out what we sold you moment. Because the converse of what you just said is true, which is, when the service advisor said, what products did you buy from us? Do you have a copy of your contract with you, Brian? Do you know what it's called? Do you have your agreement number? It's equally as damaging, whether you're saying it or thinking it, is time out. I bought this crap from you. Don't you know?
Yeah. And Steve, what is so cool about the way your platform works, and you could tell that I'm excited about it because I just think it's a gap that no one's filling, is that everyone's having staffing problems. I am sure that these third-party administrators are dealing with the normal, the great resignation or silent quitting or whatever they're calling, and that, they're trying to handle these calls. They know that it's a timely manner. Is the app's eventual goal to help facilitate, in partnership with these third-party administrators, to give more instant approval for the no-brainer things, and allow then the service advisor and the third-party administrator to focus their real time on the hairier, maybe judgmental items?
Yeah, it's an existing value, not a future prospect. We do it right now. And I want to also underscore this. As I honor dealers, I also honor third-party administrators. They play a critical role in our industry to provide these revenue opportunities for their dealers. It's a critical financial work center for every dealer. But here's the challenge. Third-party administrators, most of them deploy the least desirable solution that costs the most amount of money to manage. Today, when F&I claim service is needed, everybody listening to this, if you know F&I claims, it's a 1-800 number, a phone queue, call hold wait times, and manual claim processing, where all that is done by somebody over the phone, where they're typing in information that the service advisor is translating over the phone. It's a time suck for the customer, the service advisor, and the third-party administrator. In our platform, the first time the third-party administrator touches the claim, they didn't have to take a phone call. All the information is already there, more accurate than ever. And then we have a thing called auto adjudication rule sets, where the third-party administrator can apply its logic that it otherwise manually does to adjudicating the claim, but do that digitally and instantly, so that most of the claims, the usual suspects, let's call it, are automatically instantly adjudicated using, again, intelligent rule sets, not how much it costs, but all the other nuances that we just simply digitize on their behalf, personalized to them all the way down to plan level, all the way down to dealer level. But then you take these great folks that are in the claims departments, and they're very valuable to the process, and let them focus their talent and energy where it needs to be applied. And we do that today. So, it's part of this end-to-end integration on how this improves dealer-customer relationships and vendor-dealer relationships, and really connects that process, which is just completely missing today in most dealerships.
Steve, I know my listeners are very attentive to asking me, hey, for details. So I'm going to ask a detail. When we talk about third-party claims administrators, could you rattle off some of the more popular F&I integrations that you have in place, so a dealer who's listening to today's podcast say, hey, that's the company I use. If you could save me time, if you could make my customers feel better about the investments in their protection plans that they've purchased, I'm all in. But do you support X? What are some?
The things that folks that know third-party administrators have their own admin platforms. Those admin platforms are run by two primary companies in our industry. That's Stone Eagle and PCMI. We're fully integrated with both of those platforms. So any administrator that uses Stone Eagle's SCS system, or Stone Eagle's SCA system, or PCMI's PCRS system, we're integrated with that. We're integrated with Salesforce. There's some folks that use that. We're also integrated with about 22 homegrown admin platforms, and a lot of great administrators that have already made their vote that digital life cycle beyond digital retailing is an important part of their growth path and their path for their partners and dealers and agents, that really transform this whole thing beyond this micro moment. I wanted, Brian, one thing you said earlier, I wanted to jump in on. When do these F&I products, when are they sold after the sale? Your head would spin. Or your listeners' heads would spin. Most of these products are sold within just days or weeks after the customer bought their car.
All right, so
It's not 2 months down the road or 2 years down the road. It's immediately thereafter. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Yep.
Dealers who are listening to this call, they're going to be like, man, we have a crack team in the F&I. I mean, we're crushing it. No one's better than us. But you're saying, hey, no one's perfect. People may not, and I love what you said, we're able to absorb 6 or 7 products value in a very maybe high pressure or time sensitive session. And yet a few days later, if they're compelled to rethink the protection of their car, they're going to pick up some other packages. So based on that, if a dealer says, Steve, what percentage or how much additional F&I revenue are you seeing when customers turn this thing on over the course of a year? I mean, is it enough?
I can give you a very specific metric. Our average right now is 38 additional service contracts or warranties per month per rooftop.
Wow.
It's not a small number. And here's the thing about it, Brian. Imagine, and I'll paint this picture here. The dealer installs a dealer branded application. So they maintain their brand throughout their relationship with their customer. At the point of sale, they download that app. That's all they have to do. They still do their normal F&I menu presentation. They still sell the car. They just get that app into the consumer's hands. We have over 90% adoption rate when a dealer uses that simple principle in the sales process, or also on the service drive. Make sure the customer has it. Then we use push notifications. We allow the dealer to communicate to their customer, whether with a manual message to a group of customers, all customers, or one customer, an automated message or a scheduled message that begins to communicate with their customer after they leave the dealership. Simple things like, thanks for buying a car from us. Welcome to the family. We're looking forward to being on this journey with you. Or a service director that says, welcome to the family. Let me show you how our dealership can uniquely support you on your ownership journey better than anybody. But not with a mailer, not with a random email or a random text message, a push notification branded to the dealer on the customer's phone. That message can also be, did you know you can enhance your ownership experience with the protection products you didn't buy with your vehicle? And then be able to explore those and, God forbid, in 2022, actually buy them on your smartphone. The same products that are available in the dealership, we just intelligently remove what the customer already purchased or what they're no longer eligible for, maybe for compliance reasons. And then post that, here's the other thing, which again, this also puts the power in the service advisor's hands to do the same thing on behalf of their customer. Why can't service advisors sell F&I products effectively after the point of sale? Well, in order to sell a customer the products they don't have, Brian, you have to know the products they do have.
Right.
So in our application, you can see everything the customer did buy, and then by organic extension, see everything they didn't buy with a digital path to capture that. But here's the thing the whole industry should take note and pull their chairs up, is after a customer buys one or more F&I products in our platform, most of these happen within the first 2 weeks of their ownership. We ask them a simple question: why didn't you buy these products when you purchased your car? We get 83% response rate. Over 95% of those customers say, I didn't know the product was available. Now, here's the thing. If menu processes are done correctly, it's 100% of the products 100% of the time. But menu selling, as the name denotes, isn't selling individual products, it's selling levels of coverage. So in that micro moment that we call F&I right now, the only process that really exists, there's time constraints, there's funding constraints, there's fatigue constraints. But when you put this in a customer's hands, illuminate the products they're still eligible for, let them have clear transparency and disclosure on what they are, and a pathway to buy or finance them on their smartphone, guess what? Customers make their vote. So it's not abandoning the F&I menu presentation. No, it's why would we let all that value reside there alone? That's it.
Yeah, with 38 additional contracts a month, I mean, when we're talking about north of 400 contracts a year, I mean, this is a significant revenue source. But let's switch back to the consumer side, which I think no one has really addressed other than yourself. For myself, I'm at my Pilot is 3 years old.
Yep.
And I have 25,000 miles. The car is in great condition, but I'm also aware that time itself can be the enemy of cars. And, so if you say, Brian, did you buy a 5-year package, a 4-year package, a 6-year package? Do you know what the mile? I have no idea. And so if I'm going to keep this car for X number of years, I'm likely best to be careful about when that, full protection package expires. I have no idea where to look. And I'm wondering what would happen if I called the dealer and how long that would take. So it's this other side, Steve, that if the dealership does a great job of saying, thank you for purchasing these protection packages, here's why you have the app. Anytime you have a question on your protection, anytime you feel that something would be covered under this package, this is your golden ticket to making sure you know exactly what you bought. And guess what? When you come in our service drive, our service advisors know exactly the protection you bought. I think that message, I've never, ever heard it before. Buying cars now for, 40 plus years. I think this is a huge customer value point that's really not appreciated unless you put your selves in the shoes of the customer who just bought a $2,000 or $3,000 protection pack.
And you take a look at, we all know that business is built on relationships, Brian, but what happens after the point of sale when customers are met with awkward silence for a period of time? And then somewhere along the way, somebody tries to pick up the pieces and invite you back to the dealership into the service drive with a coupon. This is disconnected from reality. We have to be engaging our customer. Retention begins at or before the point of purchase. And we have to develop relationships with good communication. That's why our application also has push notifications and a digital rewards program to keep that engagement alive, so that when a customer comes time for them to service, their natural choice is their selling dealer. And I believe very strongly, Brian, that our industry, again, throws the kitchen sink at customer acquisition. Every dealership has a why buy here proposition. but how many have a why return here value proposition?
Come on, Steve. I love
Right.
this. I love this.
This is what's missing. And again, dealers are great at what they do, and they're great at refining the processes they know. But what about the ones that are missing?
Right.
And I take a look at, Brian, in our limited time here, about the number one retailer in the world is Amazon. Now, people in the auto industry hate using Amazon as a comparison. They think, Steve, that's a cloud thing that has nothing, no relations. The truth is, Amazon is chock full of brick and mortar and people to deliver its products and services, just like the brick and mortar auto retailing industry is. It's exactly the same. They just use a different method, and they figured out, it's the reason why they're $1 trillion plus valued company, the desired customer engagement before and after the sale that keeps their customer coming back again and again and again. Amazon's not the cheapest resource online, but Brian, tell me you don't have a box on your doorstep every other day.
Yeah. And
right? I mean, this is the thing. The customer life cycle, the recurring customer, is the very thing that differentiates our great brick and mortar industry from the 100% online retailers that are just selling cars. We don't need to catch up to them. We need to surpass them with the ability to also take care of that customer beyond the one-time transaction.
Absolutely. And one of the things I like about Amazon, I know I can look up everything I ordered. I have a window of time to return. There's a process in place that's fast and easy, and that's what we need to bring to automotive. Steve, one last question.
Yep.
Dealers who are listening today, I am sure saying, wow, to have an app customized for our brand that has that F&I coverage, I have push communication. I mean, this sounds like a dream. The sales advisors have it on their phone. Everyone now is working off a single source of truth. When a dealer signs up, how long approximately does it take to get the software set up and the training to be put in place? Because obviously the service advisors are going to need to know how to look up and understand what's your common implementation roadmap for the dealers who are saying, I'm ready, but how long is it going to take?
First, we give them a roadmap. One of the things, our mantra is connect the disconnected. Bad news for our industry, there's a lot of disconnected stuff. Good news for us, there's a lot of disconnected stuff. Takes about 2 weeks from go. Because most of the integrations are already there. This is mostly a leadership decision, not a bandwidth decision. And one other thing I wanted to clarify when we talk about F&I engagement, how many dealers, Brian, have multiple F&I administrators powering their F&I environment? The answer is almost all. Our platform unifies this experience even with multiple F&I administrators into one digital engagement platform.
Come on.
This is something that's also dramatically missing. Dealers don't need one more thing to do, frankly. They need things that simplify the things they do already and make them better. And I understand my mission, and I think every other vendor's mission is to help strengthen the dealer's revenue and make more meaningful customer retention. Tell me I'm wrong, right? This is like all of our missions.
Yes.
We happen to have a platform that just does exactly that. It's plug and play. It's a leadership thing. Should all of this value extend beyond the one-time transaction? And I think the answer is clearly yes. So yeah, usually about a couple of weeks. If we have an administrator that's maybe completely on a homegrown admin platform and we have to create a new integration, it could take a little bit longer, but not more than 30 days or so. We do that work. And then also, our company is called Strategix DX. DX stands for digital transformation in the world. DX is an acronym for that. We have what we call DX guides, digital transformation guides, where they're a part of that implementation before it's launched and then in person when it's launched, to make sure we fortify everybody within the dealership on how this is the way to communicate and gain the lifetime value of their customer beyond that one-time transaction.
Steve, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm really excited to see the reaction from the dealer groups at the CXO Summit on November 12th, and then the Modern Retailing Conference. This is a gap in modern retailing. Steve, if somebody wanted to set up a demo, get some more information, what's your website address where they can jump on and get something booked?
Strategix-DX, like davidxray.com, strategix-dx.com. You can catch us on LinkedIn too. Our company is Strategix DX. My name's Steven Apicella, but the website, strategix-dx.com.
Great. Well, for everyone who's listening to today's podcast, Steven's company is a perfect example why the Modern Retailing Conference was birthed, formerly called the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit. There has been some massive shifts in the online sales process, the in-store sales process, and everyone is looking for ways to be more operationally efficient, drive down cost, increase the customer experience to a point where we have raving fans. And this is one of those missing pieces. If you haven't registered for the Modern Retailing Conference, just go to modernretailingconference.com. Right now, only dealer and OEM tickets are available. We're in the final stretch. There's multiple hotels that you can stay at Palm Beach with rates starting at $180 a night. The main event is at the O Hotel and Resort in Palm Beach. This is going to be a great time. And if this is the first time you're hearing this podcast, you should know that I have dozens of interviews with industry leaders, disruptors, and people like Steven who are filling gaps to create a unified, efficient, modern retailing process. So make sure, whether it's on the Apple podcast channel, Google Play, or our native site, Libsyn, you can go to brianpash.libsyn, LIBSYN.com to see all the episodes. Thank you for listening. And I hope to see many of you at the Modern Retailing Conference coming up November 13th, 14th, and 15th in Palm Beach. Steven, thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you, Brian. Look forward. Tell everybody, from my point of view, I went to the event last year. It is an amazing event. If you're not scheduled to be there, get there. It's a great event.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and I'll catch you next time on another podcast interview.